Hello and welcome everyone. You are tuning in today for one of my very special segments called Up Close and Personal. And this is an opportunity for you all to hear from a live person, other than myself. You get to hear my special guest, special journey and testimony. And the goal here is really to let you know that we're not alone. A lot of times we think that we are alone when we are battling a certain health condition or we may get a new diagnosis. And here's is this is hopefully will come as inspiration and motivation to know that you're not alone, and in many cases you just need to implore the right support in order to have you a team, to help you really get through and enjoy the journey. There's a way to enjoy the journey. And so today I have the pleasure of spotlighting Miss Domitila Vita Salvador, and she and her awesome supportive daughter is with her, and her name is Cecilia.
That's
And we
nice.
have been working together about since June, and they have been a pleasure to work with. And I'm extremely excited to have you all join. So I am glad that you guys have taken time out of your schedule in order to speak with me today. So I really appreciate it. And so the topic today is how Domitila gained control of her diabetes. She reduced her medications. She lowered her cholesterol levels all within 6 months, despite avoiding some of her favorite native foods and trying on her own for at least 4 years. So I know this sounds familiar, okay, as far as avoiding foods that we really enjoy eating because we're fearful of how that's going to impact our sugar levels. And what was beauty about this partnership is Cecilia is a nurse, so she's a registered nurse, and so she has a lot of insight on diabetes and cholesterol and things of that nature, and really sees how the uncontrolled when it's uncontrolled, how it really impacts people. So she does work in a hospital setting, so she is able to see this, hand in hand in real time. So it's serious. So of course she was fearful, when her mother was starting to experience her elevated blood sugar levels, elevated A1C, and so I applaud her for reaching out. And we were able to get it under control, and she worked really hard with her mother, and it's just a beautiful thing that they work together to make this thing happen. And so as we're going through this conversation, I like to call it, feel free to post questions, comments, aha moments, you relate, anything. So I love for these sessions to come across as education as well. And so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. If I'm not able to answer it, I will ask Cecilia to the answers to those questions, and I will get them back to you. And so let's hear from Miss Vita Salvador herself. And we'll start with asking, what is her line of work and what does she do for a living?
Okay. So like Miss Sandra said, I'm Cecilia. I'm Domitila's mom, daughter. She's my mom. So she doesn't speak English, just means Spanish. So if that's why you'll probably see me doing most of the talking here. So she's a housekeeper, and no part-time housekeeping, and then she also is a housewife. So that's pretty much what she does.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, that's a job in itself. So awesome, awesome. And so we'll start with the backstory. So we always like to know, the journey. And so let's talk about some of the medical diagnosis. And so let's start with the diabetes and like how long ago she was diagnosed and kind of that history and that journey of trying to manage it.
Yeah. So she's been a diabetic for almost 20 years already. It started as gestational pretty much. And then, when she had my brother, and then that's she pretty much it stayed with her. She was then, and it started, like I said, 20 years ago. Um, back then I was in my middle school, high school, and that I wasn't aware of, of her diabetes. So she pretty much, she just kind of neglected herself, her health. She was just, mostly taking care of us, and didn't kind of took her, condition, her diabetes as a priority. She just kind of mostly took, that was her focus, taking care of us. But I mean, now that I'm grown up and I see, I know what diabetes is. We know the complications. I was like, it's my turn to, try to take care of her. And as a nurse myself, like I said, it was scary. Her A1C was in the nines. It at one point it was in the tens, like 2 3 years ago. So it was just not controlled. It was out of control, and it, like I said, it's scary because I know what it does, what diabetes does, and and it's easy as diet, exercise, that alone can just take care of the diabetes, the blood sugar levels, and that's all it takes. And if you need medications, that's an extra help. But like I said, I knew diet at least. I mean, that itself could be the
Yeah,
huge thing. So that's pretty much her. Like I said,
yeah,
she's A1Cs were not controlled at all. They were, like
yeah.
I said, we needed
Now,
that
were
extra.
there any, yeah, were there any like symptoms over the years, or was it just lab work that kind of raised the red flag for you?
No symptoms. Like I said, there was a lot of times where you would get UTIs, like
Okay,
UTIs, and there was one time that she was hospitalized in the ICU unit. She had a severe kidney infection. So that was like, that wake up call, and it's like, okay, we really need to take this seriously and get this under control. So,
yeah. How common is it to have the kidney infection? I
oh,
don't hear that very often.
it is. It's very common because it's the way it works. Your sugar levels are very high, so it pretty much works with the urine in your bladder type of thing, and it goes up to your kidneys. It's a whole process. I mean, once it gets to your
Oh,
kidneys, it's like, okay, it's serious. It's been a while
serious.
where you had sugar down control. So, and I mean, it
Okay,
pretty much affects your whole body itself with the vessels. So you can become
okay.
a your kidney. You can go into kidney failure just because of your diabetes. Long term not being controlled. Like I said, it damages your whole body. Your whole body.
Yes.
So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Because you did say 20 years. And so, and it probably was minimal, in the beginning, but then, like you said, over the course of the
Mhm.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's okay. So hopefully that's a teachable moment because you always hear you're at risk for blood pressure and you're at risk for, cholesterol, but I don't think many people hear much about kidneys, and again, those are things you see being in the hospital setting. So you really see extreme cases. Now the cholesterol. So was that diagnosed before or after
That was
diabetes?
after. That was
Okay.
after. hmm
Okay. And do you think that was related to the diabetes or maybe hereditary?
that could play a factor into it. We're also Hispanic. We're Mexican, so we like to enjoy our traditional dishes, which sometimes it has not the fats and the carbs. So you kind of like to
Mhm.
indulge in that. So it's probably a fact that could
Over
probably
time.
play a factor in that. But
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk more about that and I get it. Soul food. So that's
yeah,
what you hear more in the Black community, the soul food, and it's nothing healthy about that either.
yeah.
So I get it. I get it. Okay, well, thank you for sharing about that. And one of the things that your mom had stated was that for years, and you stated that she had neglected her own.
Yeah.
And this self-assessment is relevant really in this day because we are so busy, our world with work and life and so we tend to lose ourselves. And how does she feel about does she as far as does she feel like she kind of lost herself just in life and just the busyness of it all and just kind of oh, I'll get to myself, later. You think had kind of if she can kind of explain that journey or if you are familiar with that journey.
Oh yeah. He said, that's pretty much what happens. He just kind of, as a typical, Mexican mom, she always likes to take care of everyone. Like everybody in the house, my dad, my siblings. Now that we're older, it's like, okay, it's your turn. We got to take care of you now. Like it's just that she did neglect it. That she was the last person, to take care, watch her. I mean, it's just a matter of she did not. It's not that she didn't care. It's just that, like I said, she
Right.
she had her
Yeah.
um, family as a
Yeah.
priority in her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as women, we tend to do that. She's not the only one guilty of that. We wear the wife hat, we wear the mom hat, we have the career hat, we have the, got to keep the house together hat. We just have all these different hats. And I'm just so thankful that she's in a good place, now. So that's what's a blessing of all this. How would you describe her relationship with food? Um, just kind of over the years and maybe what you've seen as a child and now, being an adult, kind of some things that you've seen.
Yeah, she likes her, like I said, her traditional Mexican dishes. Um, she's an excellent cook. She loves to cook, and of course, she likes to eat too. But we realize that our dishes, a lot of them have a lot of components are carbs, and that's what we learned throughout this journey. It's a lot of carbs that we eat in our just like one meal itself. We always have our tortillas, our rice in there, our beans, which it's a good carb, but that's pretty much what our plate consists of all the time,
Mhm.
or most of the
Yeah,
time. So it's just lots of carbs in our life.
yeah,
So it's just
yeah, and
it's a
it just kind of added up. Yeah, I get it. And and let's see, what's her relationship with carbs? Like, I know she loves it, but is there certain ones that just kind of stick out that she was afraid to eat, after getting the diagnosis, or maybe some things that she felt deprived of, or what do you think?
Let me ask her this one because it's very
Okay,
specific
okay.
to something. Después de que te dijeron que tenías diabetes, había algunas comidas carbohidratos que sentías que no podías comer, que no.
Cuando me detectaron la diabetes,
Uh,
yo comía de todo. No.
uh, she pretty much she ate everything. She didn't really watch her diet pretty much. She still continued to eat her
Okay.
tortillas, up to 5 or 6 tortillas a day.
Pues no iba a la clínica.
The rice. She just indulged pretty much in
Yeah, yeah. And what
carbs.
were the doctors saying over the years? Do you know any of those conversations?
Well, the usual conversation goes, okay, you have to watch what you eat. You can't eat. Today, like, it was where they told her you can't eat no fruits. You can't eat, no tortillas. Like, they pretty much told her not to eat, like, nothing, carbs. But I'm like, you have to eat some carbs. That's your main
Yeah,
fuel. What do you mean? So,
Como
yeah.
la doctora. A mí la doctora me prohibió comer fruta.
Yeah, it's saying exactly what I said. The doctor had told her not to eat any fruits. You have to eat your fruit.
yeah. And
Anyways,
now you know that is like the complete opposite, right?
yes.
And unfortunately, that is the advice that a lot of people get when they're first diagnosed. And they'll say, just don't eat bread, don't eat fruit, don't eat, and they'll name sometimes specific foods and it scares them. And then when they come to me, it's like, here I am saying, yes, you can eat this. And sometimes it takes a while to break that fear down because if we're not, as you know, as we're not eating enough carbs, it's like everybody has a certain amount of carbs they should eat. It's different for me, it's different for you, it's different for your mom, but we need them. And even as a diabetic, we need them, but we just need to know how to regulate that for our bodies. Because if we don't, then they actually go higher. If just like if you eat too much, if you're not eating enough, it'll also spike. And so it's kind of hard to retrain the brain to do that. And it's so scary sometimes because it's, the doctors are saying, "No, eat the good stuff, and so I'm glad that, and I think because, you wear that RN hat, you kind of like, this doesn't sound, this doesn't sound right.
Mm-mm.
This isn't working.
Yeah.
So I know many of you can relate to this. So chime in with any questions or any comments, and then we are going to continue. And so share her energy levels during this time of just trying to get a handle of it. And even, before we met, how were her energy levels?
So, before she did say that she felt like a little sluggish, tired, throughout the day, where she felt like she needed to take a nap or two. She was just tired, pretty much.
Hmm.
That was
Hmm.
her.
Yeah, and that could have come from a combination of things. Sleep, especially if we're stressed a lot, maybe we're not sleeping enough. And it can come, maybe it could have been some days where she did cut back, because she was kind of fearful or maybe trying to get it under control. And so if we cut back too much, then we'll have that brain fog because carbs is like the brain's number one preferred. I say it's the preferred fuel
Mhm.
for our bodies versus the protein and the fats and stuff like that. So if we go too low, then the brain is kind of like, what do I do? What do I do to get what it needs? And that's kind of where you feel that headache and things like that. And it could be dehydration too. So it could be a couple of combination of things in that regard. But how did that impact her day to day? Because I know especially if she's going to different houses and working and caring for caring for when you guys were younger, or how did that affect her day to day, the energy
What
levels?
¿Cómo te afectó la energía como antes, como no tenías no mucha energía, te sentías cansada? ¿Cómo te afectaba en el día?
Me sentía cansada, con dolor de cabeza.
She just felt more tired, like headaches type of thing, just like a chronic tiredness type of feeling.
Mm, gotcha. Good, good. And how are her headaches and energy levels, today? Like how are they?
¿Cómo está tu nivel de energía ahora?
Siempre bien.
¿No tienes dolor de cabeza?
¡Pásale! No, pues a veces me da dolor de cabeza, pero es normal. ¡Pásale!
I mean, she energy wise, she feels fine.
Cálate la silla.
I mean, except she doesn't feel like she used to before. She'll get a headache every once in a while, but it's just a usual
Yeah,
headache we all get.
yeah,
But energy
mhm,
wise, she feels, so much better than before.
yeah. Is she
Doesn't
taking
even
those naps?
no,
What about the?
she
Yeah.
doesn't just take those naps anymore.
That is good. And that's the power of food. That's really what I like to employ, the power of food, where you don't have to
Yeah,
worry about feeling like you're gonna crash and burn if you sit down too long.
yeah.
And is she a big sweet eater? Any what cravings? Does she have issues with cravings?
Um, ¿Se te antojan cosas?
A veces,
¿Cómo que?
pues las tortillas enfrijoladas, el mole, los taquitos, pero me los como, pero me
I
salen bien
heard
así.
mole.
Yeah, tacos, her tortillas, and yeah, like I said, and she eats like we were saying. She just had mole yesterday, and her sugars levels are fine. They're not a factor. It's just a matter of watching, the portions and how much you eat. So it's
Yes. And
doable. You
yeah,
can eat.
and tell us more about because I just learned about that speaking with you the other day. So tell us more about the mole and what's in it, just kind of a summary of what's in it so people can really get an idea of, oh wow, she can have that.
Yes. So the mole, it's a Mexican, traditional Mexican dish that we do. So it's just a component. It's like a paste that we do, but it's a component. It has a lot of ingredients in that. And that it has like animal crackers. It's got a lot of spices like peppers type of thing. It's got the green plantains. It's got like a chocolate bar, raisins, cinnamon. It's a lot of carbs type of thing. Um, so we were hesitant. I was like, okay, can how much can she eat? Can she eat this? Without affecting her sugar levels. Um, so that's where you came and then, you were that uh, knowledgeable person in this field. And like, okay, you can eat this. How much? And you told us how much you can eat. And like I said, she's able to enjoy her favorite foods now and
Yeah.
without affecting her sugars. So
Yeah.
that was and
Yeah.
she's
Which I thought
happy.
was great. Yeah, and it sounds great too. It's a lot of she didn't even name all the things in there, but it's a lot of different
Well,
and then things are fried. Some things are fried,
oh
like the bananas I think is fried
yeah,
and the crack animal
everything
crackers and
everything is fried. Yeah. Kind of toasted until a certain point where it's not fried, but just toasted type of thing.
yes.
It's There's oil in there.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes. And it's almost like a sauce or like a thick
Yeah.
paste sauce and
Hmm.
they pour it over like either meats or and she had it over white rice.
Yeah, he did have rice as well.
So that is amazing. And her sugar levels came in below what is desired
Mhm.
for the fasting. So I thought that was amazing. So, and the thing was, it wasn't just carbs, and even though it actually had healthy things in there. So I mean, it was had the healthy fats in there, it had the healthy carbs in there. So it wasn't like it was just totally empty carbs. So which I thought was really great. So it actually had a lot of things combined in that one dish. So a lot of native dishes, as a lot of people don't realize. I mean, a lot of it has a lot of healthy components to it. It's just sometimes just a matter of we just have to kind of watch how much we eat for our body needs.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. So if anybody has any comments or questions on that, definitely chime in. And and so what was kind of the trigger that said, "Hey, let's do this search. You know, let's do the search." And how did she feel about working with a dietitian?
Yeah. So I was like, it was my idea to to reach out, look for a registered dietitian, or somebody that will help us with that diet portion. Because I mean, I knew the medical portion, I know the pathophysiology, I know what it does, the complications of diabetes. I've seen it. So like I said, that scared me. I had a fear. Like I was like, I do not wish anyone and any complication from diabetes. And I knew that it's manageable. It's a diet and exercise. That's all it takes. And medications, of course, if you need that extra help. But just diet itself, I knew that. And if you knew the right what to eat, and that can control your sugar. So her last A1C, like I said, it was 9.1. And like I said, it's just a matter of the recent years where okay, we're not able to manage it ourselves alone. Like I said, I didn't want to deprive her from her favorite foods either. Oh, sorry. So that was just like I said, I decided to do a Google search. Look for a registered dietitian, somebody, and there's a lot of them online. When you go online, sometimes you get overwhelmed. Like, okay, who's a good one? And then I saw the reviews, your reviews, and I was like, wow, they, you get that good vibe. It's just so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
she knows what she's doing. Like she genuinely cares. Because you want somebody that's going to be there throughout the whole process to help you with that.
Yeah.
And she looks like she might be the one. So I mean, and it's you're always I was nervous for her because like this is our like we gotta find someone that can help us. Like I said, there's so many out there. I was very skeptical
Yeah.
see if this will work
Yeah.
or not. And but that, like I said, her
Yeah.
last one, A1C, and the last couple that she hasn't had one that has been in the sevens in a while. So I was like, okay, we gotta go
Yes.
back. It's
Yes, 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 yes. You guys are set for life, and you have been so dedicated, and that's what's been beauty about this. It's you when you have a support system. It wasn't like she was doing it by herself, and so you really put a lot into learning and teaching it to her, and so it's like two for one. So it benefits you as well, and your family, and so that's what's beautiful about it. And I just found it very inspirational that it's my first. A daughter mother team. So it was just really inspirational to see how diligent you were and the questions you asked were great. And it was really it's really beautiful. And how has your relationship, as well as your mom's, because I'm sure your relationship with food has probably changed as well. So how has that outlook different now?
well, I'm just more conscious, when I eat. Like I said, our dishes, like they were Hispanic or Mexican. I didn't, realize before that it was mostly composed of carbs, like our meals. And then today, now I'm like, okay, I need to have one carb. Like try to, not too many carbs. I'm like, I'm not diabetic. I probably can have a little more, but I was like, I don't want to get to that point either because that's genetic. It
Mhm.
has a genetic component in that diabetes. So like, I have to watch what I eat.
Mhm.
So it's just, it's just more conscious of what you eat type of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
make sure you don't overindulge in your carbs. Everything. Just a moderation diet. It's everything in moderation, pretty much.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No food's off limits. So
Mhm.
I love it when you have your native dishes and you don't have to fear them because that's important. That's part of our culture. and it's part of fellowship. And so, yeah, it's very, very important to include those things. And so, so I like the good stuff that I like to talk about are the numbers, like the victories and the testimonies. And so, when we started, you had shared labs back in February of this year, and then we also had labs in October, and these numbers are amazing. So, like Cecilia had stated, her A1C was 9.1, and on those labs it was down to 7.2. So that is amazing. And so I'm the doctor probably wants it under 7, right? So we're close. We're getting there, and it's just going to continue. Did they say they want it under 7? Are they happy?
Ideally under 7. That's what yeah, that's what you said. But I
Mhm.
mean, just going from 9.2 to
Yes.
9.1 to 7.2, like 2 points. Like I said,
Yes.
she was very impressed. She was just, very satisfied with, because
Yes.
everything, her lab work was, cholesterol levels, it was normal. Like she went down like
Yes.
100 points on both her cholesterol and her LDL. So it was a whole
Yes.
completely different person. She was saying she was looking at the labs like,
Yes.
impressed and
Yeah, so I
said,
would say labs tell a lot about a person. And she had your mom had her tortillas, and she had,
"Mhm,
things that she enjoyed. Her cholesterol, so it was 224, which we wanted under 200, and that went down to 125. So I thought that was, and then the LDL, which I call the lousy cholesterol, that was 158, and we want that under 100. And so that went down to 60, like 60.8. So that was amazing. Her triglycerides stayed pretty even keel, and then which was 140, which is normal. We want that under 150. And then the her glucose fasting back in February was 133. And then now it's down to 90. And so we typically want that about under 99 or under 100. So that was amazing. Like you said, totally different person. And I think you had stated that her A1C, that's the lowest it had been in 3 years. So we're talking about that in less than, 6 months, because I think it took about 6 months for them to run the labs. And so we were Cecilia and I was like trying to get the nurse to please run these labs because we really wanted to see how our A1C was going. And then the medications is another
mhm,
thing that I love to share. The glimepiride that went down from 4 milligrams to 1.
mhm."
And then her cholesterol meds went down from 40
It's
milligrams to 20. So it was almost cut in half. So
yeah.
I thought that was amazing. And then there's certain moments where she doesn't even need to take the metformin. It depends on what
Mhm.
her levels are. So has there been any cases where she didn't need to take the metformin, or is it still pretty consistent?
It's been pretty consistent. I mean, she's had a few times, but it's she's under more. I mean, she's definitely better than what she was before. Like you say, her fastings were like 200s type of thing before. So I mean, now under 126, in the 120s, 130 sometimes. I mean, that
Hmm.
is right here is we won that. Yeah, and we're so
Yeah.
happy. We were stressed before. I mean, I was stressed for her. She was stressed too. Was not even able to eat, like mad, like so she tried with restrict herself from foods and her carbs, but it wasn't working. And I was like, no, you shouldn't be. I mean, it's just like I said, it's everything in moderation. You can't
Hmm.
restrict all carbs type of thing. You have to eat
Yeah.
some. So
Yeah.
no longer stressing about that
I
type of thing.
know, that's so wonderful. Yes, we've added years to her life, your life, and that's what it's about. That's the blessing in all of this, and that's really what the message is here, is that you don't have to go through this in fear. You don't have to stress. You don't have to feel like you have to do it by yourself. Don't want to fear food. So I always encourage, find a dietitian, if not me, but find somebody who's registered and licensed. And that's the key. And then you find that fit, it'll feel good. And then you'll just kind of know that that's the person that you should work with. But that's the key to at least get you on the right track to know that nothing's off limits. It's in moderation, and really know what moderation is, because a lot of times people don't know what moderation is. You hear the word moderation, but what does that really mean? Different things for different people. So what would you say were the top three things that your mom learned during our journey here?
Pretty much, like I said, the nutrition plan you gave us, that was like our Bible. make sure we follow that, or how many um, servings of carbs she can have, or protein servings, what's her it's in a nutrition plan. That was, like I said, that was our Bible. We follow that, and like I said, that's we're so blessed and happy that we found you, and say grateful that you helped us out because, like I said, you were really, I mean, to at least to me, I was like, it's a huge relief now, that your sugars are controlled, and I feel better. I know she feels so much better and happy. Either way, so yeah, then I mean, what she can eat pretty much, how many carbs she can have and throughout the day, and she's not feeling restricted at all. She
Good.
she always feels satisfied. She's not hungry. So that itself, what her servings are, throughout the day. I think the tracking app, like that was really nice too. It lets okay, so like the carb component in there and the proteins, like what's the components of that of each food, and that. So that was nice. Um,
El nieto de
let me
Marisela,
see.
la
What
chaparrita, la
else?
china, apenas
Let me
nació.
see. Pretty much. And and just like I said, that she can eat pretty much. She's not everything she wants. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
there's no food that she
Apenas
cannot eat. She can eat
nació
Yeah.
now.
el jueves.
Yeah. And then another thing, she's got her energy levels back too. So,
Oh yes.
would you say, is there anything that she's able to do now or have now that maybe she wasn't able to do before because the stress and the energy levels?
Le metí todas esas cosas.
Anything that you say maybe she's reintroduced back to her life that maybe she had cut out?
Um, like I said, food wise, I mean, like you said, there was one point where to restrict herself from eating, like she tried not to eat
Para no
tortillas,
tener familia,
but like I said, she
pues le
eats them
hicieron
now,
la inseminación.
and
Mhm.
she's doing
Anything on the
okay.
physical front? Like, I don't know, does she get out more, walk more
No le pegaba.
physically, would you say?
She walks a little more. Like I
Perdió
said, energy wise,
gemelos,
she's more
perdió
Yeah.
a dos
and moving and stuff,
niñas,
and
un niño y
she's
una
energy
niña.
wise, yes. I mean, she
La
Yeah,
segunda
that's
vez
good. That's good. That's good.
los perdí.
Any words of wisdom that you would give our listeners who are in the same boat,
Gemelos
um,
también,
don't know what to do, kind of
como 6 meses.
fearing they got the bad news or the unexpected news that now maybe they're now diabetic. Any words of wisdom that you have for them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't be scared. It is scary. It sounds, it's scary. Just to say, you're diabetic, your sugars are not controlled. But just know that it's possible. Make sure you reach out for help. Reach out for help, like we did. Like you said, we tried so many years, trying to do it ourselves, but we also need sometimes we need that extra help. Like a registered dietitian. So that's why we decided to look for a registered dietitian, and we found you, and you have helped us so much. So definitely, like you said, don't feel like you're alone because you're not alone. Diabetes is completely manageable. You just need to know what to eat. You need to be educated. So education, it's a lot. Just know what to eat. As long as you know what to eat, you'll be fine. And exercise too.
Yeah,
That.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And I pray really that this is testimony for others and gives people hope. And another thing that I point out, a lot of times diabetes is tied to weight. And what's different and
Pero
in
salió bien.
Domitita's case was weight wasn't really the issue at all. We maintained her weight. So we did not focus on weight loss or anything like that. We just wanted to make sure she was eating. It was just strictly getting her body to regulate, manage the sugar levels and her cholesterol. And so everybody kind of has a little different situation, but just like as Cecilia said, there is always hope. There's always a way out. Sometimes we need meds to help us, but I like to say we don't need as much. We can lower them, and food is medicine. So I appreciate your time, and if anybody has any comments, questions, stories, aha moments, please don't hesitate to post. And I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you for your time again. Thank you for tuning in. And I always like to say, remember to keep a positive mindset. Speaking only positive self-talk goes a long way in cultivating and maintaining a healthy lifestyle and self-care habits that last for life. Because these tools that I like to share that they go for life. It's like when our journey ends, the information stays. It doesn't go away. You just reuse it and you reuse it. And so, and tune in next week, same time, same handle. Thank you for listening, and I pray that this was helpful for you. And bye for now. And I will see you next time. And be blessed.